All right, welcome everyone this morning. A beautiful day in Toledo, and a really exciting topic to discuss. The creation of the Toledo CIC. Last night at our City Council meeting, City Council considered 59 different ordinances. I think 6 of them went for first reading, 3 of them were sent to committee, 51 of them passed. And with that kind of action and activity on a fairly routine agenda, sometimes it might be difficult to figure out, if you were a member of the media having to cover a meeting like that, geez, what was the most important thing that we did? And all of those ordinances are important, of course, but I believe we might look back 30 years from now and decide that the most important thing that we did last night was the one ordinance of those 59 that created this organization. This has the ability to be a game changer for Toledo. And even though it already passed yesterday, and you might say, well, now it constitutes old news. The news happened yesterday. This is so important, we felt it deserved a little extra emphasis just to make sure the community understands what we now have access to. We now have an organization. Toledo essentially has its own economic development corporation that I suppose you could argue had already existed on paper, but now it has funding attached, a funding stream attached. It begins with $5 million in it, roughly, and it will receive about $1 million per year, every year, over the next 35 years. So you can think about this in terms of a $40 million economic opportunity. And if you want to really get ahead of yourself and start talking about maybe borrowing against it, I mean, this opens up the possibility of tens of millions of dollars of economic development resources for our community. True, we've always had access to resources to promote economic development needs through our general fund, through our capital improvement funds, but we never had an organization focused specifically on economic development as nimble and as able to react as quickly as our CIC. This is very comparable to something the county has, the LCIC. The county has had something like this for a while. It's had a funding stream. We hadn't until yesterday. This is going to enable us to achieve a lot of economic development goals. I think our focus, our notion, is that it could be particularly helpful when it comes to preparing land for economic development. When you think about Toledo, we have a lot of advantages here in this city. Our access to, the lake and the river, where we are located at the cross-section of I-75 and I-80. Lots of great advantages for our city, but one of the things that works against us is that we're a little landlocked. We're developed pretty fully within our municipal corporation. I think if we got super creative, we might be able to cobble together 100 or 125 acres of, pure green land, sort of easily developable cornfield to a business. That's tough, especially when some of these big employers are looking for 1,000 acres. That's why so many of these big Intel-like things are happening out in the hinterlands, because they just need so much land. We don't have that in Toledo. So what we need to be able to do is to remediate and clean up some of the spots in our city that could be used for economic development if they just, didn't have some of the environmental challenges that 7,500, 125 years of use has caused. That's what we see this fund as being useful in accomplishing. If you want to think about other comparable projects that we could have used this for going forward, again, we didn't have this, so we had to use general fund and CIP and ARP when it existed, but you might think about the old Northtown Mall. Shopping mall there for years and years, The economy changed. Folks don't shop in shopping malls as much, so it went vacant. We had a notion to put some tier one suppliers to the auto industry there, but we had to get rid of those old mall buildings and clean it up, and that was an expensive proposition. Going forward, a project like that would be able to use these resources to more quickly and again nimbly do that work. You want to think about transitioning the old Southwick Mall into the Amazon it is now, the old textile leather site into the vehicle customization facility that we have there now adjacent to Jeep. A number of things like that, cleaning up land and repositioning some of our legacy parcels into economic development use. That's what we think this can be helpful in doing. And again, Toledo has never had anything like this, and we're really excited about the economic development potential that this provides. Last thing I'll say before I'll turn it over to some of our partners is that when you think about what this represents, among the things it represents is regional cooperation and regional collaboration. That's one of the reasons we're joined by, though they were either afraid of the cameras or afraid of the sun, they're hiding back in the shadows behind us. So many folks who really represent regional organizations. Sandy Spang from Temacog, Matt Hireman from Lucas County, David Mann from the Land Bank, David Zank from the Metro Parks. All of those organizations, first of all, could find their own land remediated in the right opportunity. One of the reasons we're here standing in a metro park is because there are still some opportunities along this riverfront that could qualify for this money. But more than that, they're all organizations that speak to a larger regional vision that could be particularly helpful when we think about how we might want to access this money. And I might say, thinking back to my earliest days as mayor, we don't think about this too much anymore. We, in some ways, take it for granted. But when I first became mayor, this region was fighting with each other, fighting with itself over water. We had always been fighting for water. The city of Oregon literally only exists because in the 1950s, we were still fighting about water. We couldn't figure out how to share water properly, and Oregon said, the heck with it, we'll build our own water plant. And while we're at it, we're going to start our own city. We had been fighting over water for generations. We came together and created something that I think the cynics didn't think we'd be able to do, created a regional water system that really has ushered in a spirit of cooperation that this region hasn't seen in a while. This might seem totally different than that. Oh, well, you know, what does regional water and water plants and, you know, water rates have to do with economic development? This is the same structure, frankly. In that case, we are cooperating on water. Here we're cooperating on economic development. The funds that are populating the CIC are coming from one of our partners in Rossford, who is sharing income tax with us as part of the agreement we signed so many years ago to extend water lines in exchange for a share of the income tax on jobs that are created there. It's that spirit of cooperation that will move our region forward, and it is as much about what's happening today as anything else. We used to fight with each other as a region. There are cities that only exist because of that fight, again, like Oregon. Now we're cooperating with each other. We're thinking as a region. I think we're benefiting when it comes to how we share our most valuable resource, water. And I think the creation of this fund, which is going to continue the economic momentum we've seen recently. Again, 8 out of the last 11 years, Toledo's been ranked in the top 10 in the nation in new business development. This enables us to continue that momentum in a way where, you know, we're not fighting with our neighbors, we're working with them in a way that benefits all of us. That, more than anything else, I think is why I'm so excited today, because it allows us to compete as a region and win together. So I want to thank all of the regional partners who are here, standing safely in the shade behind the cameras, almost as if they weren't here. But I want to thank them all for being here. And now I want to turn it over for additional remarks to some of the people who are going to make this happen. Sam Meldon is the chair of the regional, what's the name of the committee? The Economic Development Regional Cooperation. It's the committee that will help execute this work, again, with a regional perspective. Brandon Selhorst, who's the Commissioner of Economic Development, to be honest, even though I'm, the shameless politician up here, patting myself in the back, trying to take credit for all this. This is really Brandon's idea more than anything else. And we're also joined by Dale Emsch, the law director, who had to go, cross all the T's and dot all the I's with the lawyers from Rossford to make this happen. So this is a big day for Toledo. This is a big step forward for regional cooperation, and we're just excited to see what we can do with this over the next 35 years. I'm going to turn it over to Brandon for some more remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. The reality is this would not be a reality today unless we had the support of the Mayor and Council. So I want to thank the Mayor and Council for supporting this plan. And this plan really started by asking ourselves a question. What would it take? What would it take to get more people living in Toledo, more jobs in Toledo? And the answer became very clear to us because it's something that we grapple with every day. We need more sites. We need more sites for housing and sites for development that are proactively renovated, remediated, and prepared for redevelopment. And the reality is we don't have a lot of those sites in the city of Toledo currently. You might ask yourselves, how do you know that will work? Because we've done it before. The mayor just listed numerous examples of sites that the city and our economic development partners proactively acquired, remediated, demoed, and prepared for redevelopment. Overland Industrial Park, the Southwick Mall site, the Textile Leather properties, Ironville here in East Toledo, and the Northtown Mall site. Between those 5 sites, we've been successful in competing to get new projects, economic development projects in this city that now employ over 3,700 people and represent about $1.3 billion of capital investment. That is the type of project that we are trying to capitalize on with this Community Improvement Corporation. CICs are a very powerful economic development tool. There are over 240 CICs active in the state of Ohio. Today we're here to launch Toledo's CIC, as the mayor mentioned, with the passage of legislation yesterday. And as the mayor mentioned, the goal here is to do site development. It is to be that tool that we have to go proactively acquire sites, remediate them, and get them ready for new economic development. But housing is also a priority for this city. And we have seen projects like the one that we're standing on today, where right behind us is the Marina Lofts project. That represents the single largest residential development that we've seen in this city in decades. And the reality is, we would not be here today, this Metro Park would not be here, and that housing development would not be here if the city did not proactively acquire the Marina District property, remediate it, demo it, and get it ready for development. This, where we're standing today, is a testament to the power of a CIC, a power of what a CIC can do in terms of getting new development in this city and ready. As the mayor mentioned, this is not only significant for standing up our own tool, but it has a dedicated funding source. This is a source of funding that we'll be able to do projects with for the next 35 years, truly unprecedented in our research of how other CICs are funded throughout the state of Ohio. So I really want to thank all of my partners who are here today. This work will not happen in a vacuum. It happens through collaboration, as all of those other 5 examples of sites have happened. I want to thank the mayor for supporting this vision of the CIC and how we could stand this up and use this as a unique tool to not only grow jobs in the city and housing, but also use this as a tool to grow our revenues. We know the significant portion of the city's revenue comes from income tax, and that comes from people that live and work in this city. And so this is a tool that we have at our disposal to help grow our income tax over the next 35 years. So I want to thank the members that came today to show support for this tool. We're excited to get to work on having our first board meeting that will meet to talk through the strategy of sites throughout the city of Toledo and how this tool can be effective in redeveloping ththose. So thank you very much. I'm happy to introduce Councilman Meldon, who is the chair of the Regional Growth and Small Business Development Committee. Councilman Meldon and his committee were really instrumental in getting the support of the colleagues and us getting an audience with the colleagues to make the case for this tool and dedicating this funding source to the CIC for the next 35 years. So Councilman Meldon, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you. Well, thanks so much, Brandon and Mayor and even the law director. I love seeing the team come together like this, all the partners here. You know, it's interesting when you run for public office, you have to square up why you want to do this. And when I first ran for city council, there was only one real question that guided that for me, which is, can I make this community better for generations to come? Can I do something now that will have a ripple effect 20, 30, 40 years from now? I think often about what is the Toledo that my children and grandchildren will inherit. And to be honest, and the mayor alluded to this, not every single council meeting is always focused on that. We're often focusing on potholes and delays in picking up trash and fixing a water main break somewhere and dealing with the business of the immediate. What's exciting about this is the business of the future. And it's a really, really exciting thing. You know, I'm so glad that Brandon mentioned this place. Obviously, we're here for a reason. I think about, as we're standing here, think about all the stories that have taken place right here where we are. Not just the stories of all these new Toledo residents, but also the stories of all the events and the concerts and the activation and the exciting moments that have taken place in this park with this unbelievable view of our beautiful city behind us. And those stories are wonderful. But the truth is, before those stories were ever told, like Brandon said, this site needed to be prepared. There is a sense in which I think about the CIC as that it's like the people who make the paper that stories are written on, the people who come up with the technology to bind books. And often when you're reading to your children, you're in the story. But there was something that happened before that to allow that story to be told. It's not often the most exciting thing. You know, at all of the ribbon cuttings that happen in the future because this Community Improvement Corporation exists, when those ribbon cuttings happen, we may not have this logo here. We'll probably have other logos. But the truth is, those stories would not be told without this tool. So I give an enormous amount of credit to the administration, to Brandon. You cannot thank him enough. The truth is, my committee and all of my colleagues on council, this was an easy sell because it's fundamentally about improving our community for generations to come. So I'm honored to be a part of the work, and this is a really exciting day. Thanks.
It may have been an easy sell, but we're sure glad that council passed this last night. Frankly, Brandon and I had this news conference scheduled for about a week, and there was a part of us saying, boy, I really hope City Council approves that ordinance on Tuesday, or else, you know, we'll have to cancel our Wednesday news conference. So as soon as they voted yes, the news release for this went out. And when Councilman Meldon was talking about all the exciting events that took place on this site, including concerts, you might be thinking of when Elvis was here, when Muhammad Ali fought here. I, of course, was thinking about the first concert I ever attended. Public Enemy and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince opening up for Run DMC in 1988. Yes, that's right. You probably had me tabbed as a Barry Manilow fan, but that was my first concert that took place right here. And I said, why is that guy wearing a clock? You know, no one had heard of Public Enemy back then. And then my friend said, because he knows what time it is. And of all the things I expected to be saying at this news conference, that was not one of them. So we are we're really excited. I can say Brandon and I were at a meeting a couple nights ago, and I think we should probably conceal who it was with and what the project was for. But we talked about this fund and what was going to happen, and the hard-charging leader of the meeting, who was looking to fill a $45 million gap in his dream project, said, oh, great. All right, we'll take 40. We'll take all 40 of that, and then we'll only need to raise 5 more. We're probably not going to do that. We're going to be judicious in how we deploy this, but I think it does speak to the excitement and the need that exists in our community for creative tools like this. So thank you, everyone who helped make this happen, and we can do questions or probably one-on-ones if you're interested in talking about this further. But we appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.